Hello, welcome back. In this tutorial series where we are talking about the finance and operation of Microsoft Dynamics 365, this is the second video of table extension. In the previous video, you know that we already discussed about how we can create the table extension. In this video, we'll discuss about add methods to table through extension. So we'll focus on this point. So without wasting time, let's start. As you can see in this project, which we have created in our previous video, we have created a table extension, and in this table we have two fields, this one and this one. These two fields are custom fields. Now if we'll go to this particular table, so if we right click on this table, you can see we cannot see the code over here. Also, if we'll try to create a new method, that is also not possible. And if we'll see the methods, all the methods are disabled. But you can see this is an extension table. So if we'll open the cast table, and if you want to see in the designer section, and if we'll try to see the code, you will be able to see the code from here. Okay, and if you can see that these are all enabled, but we should not write the code in this base table. So instead of that, we have to create the extension. Okay, so now I'll see how you can create the extension of a particular class. Okay, or specifically we can say how we can create the extension of the cast table. So if we'll code view, if you right click on the view code, then you can see that this will open a table, nothing but a table, and which is a public table, and then the name of the table is a cast table, and which is extended from the common. And here you can see all the methods which is present, right? So you can see all the methods. So to extend the base table, so you have to create a class. So for that, just right click on the project and then create a new item, and from here you have to select the code, and you can from here you can give the name of your table. So you have to understand the naming convention here. So if you are creating the extension, then as a prefix you can use your organization name. So for the organization name, I can use answer here, and then you have to give the name of your object. So I want to create the extension for the cast table, so that's why I'll mention the cast table here. And at the end, after that, you have to give the underscore, and then you have to use the extension keyword or the word, and then you have to click on the add button. Okay, so this way you have to give the name. If you are extending invent table, then you have to use your invent table, and then you have to use the underscore extension. Okay, now when you click, then you will be able to see this class will be added skeleton. So you can delete the internal keyword, but remember that this particular extension class will have the final keyword. So in our previous videos, we already discussed about the chain of command. So at this point of time, we will also utilize all the functionalities of the chain of command here, because we are creating nothing but chain of command for the cast table. So here you have to give the name of the attribute. So name of the attribute is the extension of. Okay, so you have to give the extension of keyword, and then you have to use here table extension. So if we'll create the extension of the table, then you have to use the table str. So at the time of class extension, you can use the class str, and after that here you have to use the name of the table. So in our case, the name of the table nothing but is cast table, right? So you have to give the name of the table cast table like this, and inside this table you can write the chain of command for each and every method which is present in this particular table. And remember that we can write the chain of command for only two type of method, that is public method and protected method. We cannot write the chain of command method wrapping for private method. So you already know about this point, right? So now you can see there is a various types of tables here there. So mainly we can create the extension for all of these methods which is public and protected. Now at this point of time, just see that we have a init value method. So we know that when the one particular record is created, init value this particular method call. So if you want to extend the functionality, and if you want to write the chain of command, then how we can do that? So you have to copy the signature. Okay, so you can directly copy the signature over here, and after that you have to give the bracket to end the block, and if you save it, it will give one error that chain of command method must contain a next call. And in case of chain of command, we know that there should always have a next call, and after the next you have to give the name of your method, and you have to specify the two brackets. Bracket means you have to give the call like this, and you have to give the semicolon. And if one method is containing the parameter, for example, so if we'll go to this one, init form cast group, so it is having the cast group as a parameter. So if you want to extend this one, so what you have to do, you have to copy the signature also. And if one method is having the default value of this of any particular parameter or argument, then you don't have to give the default value on the extension class. Only you have to give the parameter name there. That's it. Okay, so you have to remember all these points. Now we know that if you'll write something before the next, it means it will call first and then it will go to the base class, and if you write anything after the next, it means that it will call the base class method, and after that it will call the information whatever will be present here. So if we'll give here info like this, so we'll try to execute this code and we'll try to see the result, so how the program follows actually executing. So that's the reason I'm giving here info, and here I'll write inside extension, and it is before next, right? And you have to mention it, this is the method, init method. Okay, so init value, and in the same way we'll write the info for after the next call. Okay, so you can see here that inside the extension after the next and inside the init method. So you can write the chain of command in this way. Now remember that in our cast table we have two fields, right? So if we'll go to the cast table, if we'll double click it, if you can see that answering customer rating is there and answering preferred language is present. So if you want to access that particular variable, so how will do that? So we know that from the chain of command we can access the member variable also, right? So if we'll click the this, if we'll give the this, and after that, so if we'll give the dot here, and you can see that all the fields which is available in the table, all the fields is actually available. So you can access your field from here. So if we'll type answering, so you can see that answering customer rating is showing here and answering preferred language is showing here. So how we can utilize the member variable, you can also see that. And please note one point here, that this answering customer rating and this one, the two fields, is not present in the base class, but we have extended the cast table and we have created these two custom field. And if you are extending the code of the cast table through the chain of command or through the extension, then we can access these two variables. So you have to note it that we can access. And if you want to initialize the value with anything or with any string, then you can also do that. Okay, so for example, if you want to give the customer rating to 5, so you can also provide that one. And also if you want to initialize the value of the preferred language, so you can also do that one. Okay, so always remember that this type of hard coding you should not do. You should always use the object, and through the object you should manipulate the data. Okay, but for tutorial purpose we can do this for demonstrating that how we can utilize the variable. Okay, if you want to call any other method which is present here, you can also call from this init method. For example, here if we create any public method, void method, and if we'll give the name of the message, okay, and after that if we'll give any method over here, and if we'll copy the info, and if you'll give one simple line over here, that inside the message method, right? Okay, so you can give the message over here, and if you want to call it from this particular init method, so let me try this one. Okay, so is this possible or not? So if you give the this dot, and then if you write the message over here, and if we'll give the semicolon here, you can see that we can call any method which is present in this particular extension one. So if it is required, you can do this one. Okay, other than this, if you want to create one private method, you can also do that. Like example, if you will give the name here message one to separate, and if we'll give the protected, and if we'll save it, so you can see there is no error is present. So that means you can use the protected method as well. So if we'll copy the code over here, and if you want to call the message one, so that is also possible. Okay, so this way you can write your own method inside this particular extension class, but we don't need this at this point of time. For demonstrating purpose, I'm just using here. So if you want to use the private method, that is also possible. So this is the protected method that I have created. So let me try to create a private method. Okay, so if we'll give the private keyword, so you can see that it is throwing an error that message one does not method cannot be used in this context. So we already have a method one name, that's why it's giving the error. So we'll give the message 2, so you can see that we can do that. And if you want to call it in the same way, you can call from this init method like this, and you have to give the name here 2. Okay, so this way if you want to create the method own method here, so that is possible. But at this point of time, we will remove or will comment all the code over here for the sake of simplicity, because I'll execute the code and I'll show you how the chain of command and event is actually occur at the same point of time. So if we'll keep all this kind of code inside our chain of command, so it will be difficult to explain. Okay, and you may get confused on that case while I'll execute. So I hope you understood how we can use the table extension and we can write the chain of command. So other than this process, we can utilize the event and event handler for this particular cast table. So I'll do that. So if we'll open the cast table extension, here you can see that it will go to below section, and if we'll see this, so you can see that there is a number of methods. So we can use initialize, on initialize. So you can see different types of initialize method are there. So as we are using the initialization process, so that's why we'll use the initialize method over here. So we can use this initialized record and initializing method. So at the point of the initializing record, this particular event will call, and at the time after the initialized, this particular method will call. So if you want to use this event, so I'll do that. So for that we can create another class. So if you want to do that, so that's why you have to create another class for event. So just click, and at this point of time select a class, and then just write here ansari, and then give your name of the table, and at the end you have to use the events to tell the other developer that this is used for the events. So after that you have to click OK, and again you can delete this one internal keyword, and you have to save it and to copy the events from the table itself. So I'll do that. So you have to go to this one, and you can see that initialize there. You can right click on the events from the below table section. Okay, just copy it and you can directly paste in the event class. So just paste it, and now you can see that it is talking about this. This is the data event handler, and this is being applied on the cast table, and specifically for what type of data event type it is applied on the initialized record. And you can see that the naming convention here is use cast table underscore on initializing record, and as a parameter you can use the sender and data event args as E. Okay, so here you can use the common class and you can use the parameter sender. So how I'll use that, let me show. Just you have to use the type here cast table and give the name of it, just cast table like this, and you have to use as keyword here. So you have to use sender as a cast table for the typecasting. So if you don't know about the typecasting, so we are casting the sender as the type of the cast table itself, and if you use the cast table, then you can use each and every field for the cast table whatever is present here. So you can see that each and every field is now accessible, right? So if you'll type here Ansari, then you can see also that Ansari caste rating and Ansari preferred language is also possible to initialize. So if we'll give here Ansari and if we'll give here 5, then also it is possible. Okay, and if we'll copy over here caste table, in the same way you can use the preferred language. Okay, so you can use here as a Bangla. Okay, and use it as a 6 over here. Okay, so it will be differentiate the value from this, and the last at last you have to keep the semicolon over here. So again, if you want to create another event for this, for example on initialized, so you can also do that. So you already created a event handler on initialized record. After the initialization it will happen, and after that if you want to at the time of initializing, so you can at the time of initializing you can copy the event over here and you can also paste it over here. Okay, and in the same way you can see that syntax is bit similar. It is showing that on initializing records, and it is also passing the sender. So in the same way, if you want to use the sender at the time of on initializing record, you can also use that particular cast table as a sender by the typecasting, and you can utilize your code over here. Okay, so this is the another way. This is the another way you can use the events in your code to extend your code over there. Okay, now I'll give one code info statement so that at the time of debugging we can see the relevant message regarding these events. Okay, so let me copy it from the extension 1 and here, and I have to paste over here, and I'll show you the message after the code over here, and I'll say here inside not extension it is events. Okay, and here just remove it, and here you have to specify this particular name so that you can understand the what type of events that we are talking about. And in the same way you can also paste over here and just copy the name of the event, and you just give the name over here. And to give the name in the different way for customer rating, just specify 7 here, and here specify Hindi. Okay, so it will be easier for you to get the sequence very easily. Now this way you can use the events. So other than this, if you'll go to the table, extension table, other than these events we can have another way to write the code. So if we right click over here, you can see that we can copy pre-event handler and post-event handler. So if you are confused about the events and event handler, so we have a separate video for that. If you are confused about pre-event handler, post-event handler and the event handler as well as the COC, so we have a separate video. You can see that video if you have any confusion why we are using these three types of code, for example COC, event handlers and events. So if you'll see that video, I hope your confusion will be end and you will get a satisfied answer. Other than that, if you don't want to see that video, if you'll see this video, when I'll execute the code, you will understand that what is the purpose and when the code actually executes. So if you'll understand when this particular code executes, that is the main purpose of this type of code. So they have a specific requirement. So if you'll use the pre-event handler, so it will call before next method which is actually present in the COC, and if you'll use this post-event handler, so it will call after the next method which is present in the COC. Okay, so let's try to use this pre-event handler and post-event handler in our code. So use this particular pre-event handler, post-event handler will create different class for that. So let me create different class. So if you'll go and if we'll create the new class, so you have to select the new here, and here you have to select class, and this time you just use answer cast table, and to separate the name you have to use here event handler, and after that you just add it. Okay, now you can see in our project we have three different class, this one for COC, this one for event, and this one for event handler. So in the same way you can delete this particular internal keyword and make it final. Okay, and after that you can copy the event handler, pre-event handler, post-event handler in this particular class. So let me go to this particular cast table. Okay, and in the same way we have used the init value, we'll copy the pre-event handler, post-event handler for this one. So let me copy first pre-event handler. So if we'll click the pre-event handler, it will copy the code. Now let me again go to this init value method again, and if we'll go to this one, now at this point of time just click post one, and below you have to paste it. So how will do that? So just Ctrl V, your code will be copied. And let me explain this code little bit. So you can see that it is showing about the pre-handler for the table name, and specifically for which type of method I want to write the handler, so that is actually mentioned. Okay, so for which table and which method, it is for event init value method, and you can see that in the name of the naming convention of this particular handler, pre-handler, is pre-init value. Okay, and for the post handler you can see post underscore init value, and also you can see that this is mentioned the post handler. So handler, this means it will handle the code for the init value and it will after the post. Okay, and it will operate on the post after the init value method. Okay, so if you want to use the code, you can see that this is the type of parameter xpp pre post args, and you can utilize these args now. So how we'll do that? So you have to specify here cast table, like cast table, as this is as we are using the cast table in this particular class, right? So just type the type here as a cast table and give the variable name as a cast table, and now if we'll specify the args like arg, and then if we'll give the dot, you can see now here you can call the get this. So if we'll give the dot here and then get this, you can access all the properties for this particular cast tables, and if you want to cast it with as keyword, so you have to mention here the original type here. So the type is cast here, cast table itself, so that's why you have to give the type as a cast table. And now if we'll copy it and if we'll paste over here, now you can see that you can access all the fields which is available in the cast tables. And if you want to access your own fields over here, you can also do that. Okay, so if we'll click over here and you can give the value over there. Okay, so I'll give here 10 here directly. Also you can give the value for the cast table dot the language preference, for example cast table, and then you can prefer language you can give. Now you can give Marathi like this. And in the same way you can utilize the args in the post event handler. So I'll just copy the whole code over here and I can paste it over here. Okay, and I'll mention here 11 here, and I'll here mention Tamil over here. Okay, and in the same way you can give a information, you can print the information to see the result. So let me copy it from the cast table itself. So I'll copy it from here, and here I'll mention after the code that I have written. Okay, and here what I will mention, I'll mention like this. Inside event handlers I'll mention event handler method, and you can just copy it and you can paste it over here to see the output in the front end. And here I'll change the name of the method over here, handler method name. So I'll give the cast table post init value handler. Okay, so by this you can actually use, you can see by this you can easily identify from the front end. Okay, now how I will access this. Okay, so if you when you will open the table in the front end, then if you'll create one new particular record, then what happen, first it will go to your extension class and it will call the init value. Now let me build it one more time, and then I'll show you how the flow of the execution is actually happening. Okay, so just right click and build the code. Now you can see that our build process completed here. From here you can see. Now what we'll do, I will right click over here and I'll open the table in the open table browser. I will click over here and I'll open the table. Okay, now we can see that our table actually created over here, and you have to create a new item over here. So, okay, so if we'll click over here, then one item will be created, and at the same time you can see that number of lines is actually printing over here. So if we'll go little bit above, if you'll below, and let me copy it first and then I'll paste it in the notepad and then I'll show you one by one. Okay, so I'll open here the notepad, and you can see that when the first it will actually calling the inside extension before the next, right? So it means first whenever we'll open the table, what it will do, it will go to the extension class. So it is going this particular chain of command, right? So it is going here. It will execute this particular init value method from the extension class, and it will execute this dot. It will initialize the value of answer rating and preferred language. Okay, and after that it will print this one inside the extension before the next. So that's why it is printing this one. So you know that in the front end it's so in the bottom up approach, so you have to understand that it is actually executing this one. So we know that it show the result in the bottom up approach. So first it will show this particular one, and from here it will go where it will go to the event handler method. So after that it will go the event handler. So if you go to this event handler, you can see that first it will print this particular pre-event handler. So that's why you can see that it is printing the pre-event handler, and after that what it is happening, it is printing the inside event method, and from this pre-event handler it will go to the event method So it will, from this particular line, it will go to the event one. So if we'll go to the event now you can see that it is printing inside event method cast table on initializing. So that's why you can see that it is printing the on initializing. Okay, and after that what will happen, it will go back to the on initialized. Okay, it will go to the post. So that's why it will print the inside event method cast on initialized records. So that's why we can see this particular line. After that it will go to the post initialize value, and which is present in the event handler. Okay, so if we'll go back to the event handler, after all the things which is associated with the pre, it will go to the post and it will print this particular line. So that's why you will be able to see this particular line, and at the end it will go to the extension class again and it will show the result. So if you go to the extension, you can see this particular, it will show this particular line of code over here, and before that you can see next is there. That means from this particular extension class which is present in the chain of command, it will execute the next value, or whatever the code is present in the base class in the cast table, that will execute in this particular next init value line. So I hope now you understood why three different types of code extension possibility is there. Okay, so you have to remember the sequence will be, first it will go to the extension one, and after that it will go to the event handler, then it will go to the event, then again it will back to the event handler, and then it will execute the next, and after that it will go back to the event, then it will again go back to the event handler, then at last it will print this particular line. So that's why you can see that this is nothing but a kind of wrapper. So COC is nothing but a kind of a wrapper class which is wrapping the code, okay, before and after. Okay, so you can see that it is showing first before, and the end you can see the after, and in between you can see that after the chain of command it is calling the event handler, after the event handler it is calling the event, and then again it is going back to the event if it is having any method is there on side the event. If it is having any kind of event associated with, it will execute that one, and it will then go back to the event handler one. That means it will execute the post event handler, and after that it will execute after the next. Okay, and in between it will execute, or it will call the init value. Remember that it will always the before the next call or the event handler call, and before the event and event handler call it will execute the next call. So that's why it will reside in the middle. You can see it is actually before this particular line and it is after this particular line. Okay, so here you can see that as per the privilege, which is actually more powerful in the sense. So if you'll see that it is first calling the extension, at the end it is also execute the extension. So if you want to modify something, so extension has the more privilege, or we can say that for the chain of command it is having the more privilege, and inside it we are wrapping all the event and event handler. So after the chain of command which is having the more privilege, after the extension it is having the privilege of the event handler, and after that you can see the event. And if you write the code or something value, if you want to change, and if you want to access it after the events, and if you will change it to the event handler event, if you want to change it to the extension class or in the COC, then all the code will be overridden inside the after call of the chain of command. Okay, so now you know that if you'll see the result once again for the value that I have initialized. So if we'll go over here, and you can see that we have two field answering got its value 11 and the preferred language as a Tamil. Here the spelling is mistake. So why it is getting the value 11 and Tamil over here? So if you see the code and if you go to the extension 1, and first it is getting the value 5 and English, right? And then it will go to the event handler 1. So it will go to the pre-event handler, and there it is changing the value 10 and Marathi. So this initializing is actually happening, but it is overriding its value, right? So that's why it will override 10, and here it will give the value Marathi. And after that what will happen, it will go to the event. So after that it will go to the event handler, and if you go here over here, and then it is initializing value again with 7 and Hindi, and then after that it will go to the initialized one, and then it will initialize with 6 and Bangla, and after that again it will go back to the event handler 1, and then it will execute the post event handler, and here it is initializing the value 11 and Tamil, and after that it will go back to the extension class, and after that what will happen, this particular line will execute. So if you write the code this dot ansari customer rating, and if you initialize after the next call, it will overwrite the value, but we are not changing the value here after the next call. That's why it is taking the value from the event handler post method. So that's where we are getting the value from this post event handler, right? So if we want to change it from here also, that is also possible. Then the actual value will change from 11 and Tamil from any other who if I'll specify here. So as you can see, it will start from the extension, then it will go to event handler, then it will go to event, then again it will go back to the post event handler if it is having, then it will come back to this particular next call, and after that it will execute whatever the line is present in the COC. Okay, so this way the execution is happening, and that's why you actually get the value. Okay, so I hope now whole thing is clear, how we can access one particular value variable, and how we can write the COC and all the thing which is associated with the events and event handler. So thanks for watching this video. See you in the next one. Till then, take care. Bye bye. Have a nice day.